Welcome to the Two Marketing Moms podcast.
Two women with 50 years plus of marketing
Integrity
experience.
and culture are extremely important.
You can still say, I don't know.
Stop multitasking and be present in the
Moms
moment.
have balls, big time.
Welcome to the Two Marketing Moms podcast. We are two women with more than 50 years of marketing and advertising experience between us, and we want to talk about the struggles, the fails, and the wins that we experienced while building our careers, being a boss, juggling work and a home life, and arguably the hardest and yet most fulfilling job, being a mom. This podcast was created for marketing and advertising professionals, especially the up-and-coming marketing stars of the future. We hope these tips, tricks, and advice will help you navigate work and life and get ahead.
Welcome to the Two Marketing Moms podcast. Today, I have probably the most special guest because she is not just a guest. She is like a friend, like a kindred spirit that I've known for practically half of my life. So welcome to the podcast, Keri Shull.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. So, okay, I'm going to read some of your bio, Keri, but honestly, it doesn't do you justice. You are the founder of the Keri Shull Team, the top selling real estate team in DC, Maryland, and Virginia, and the 21st mega team in the nation for overall volume, according to Real Trends and Tom Ferry. In 2018, you co-founded Hyperfast Agent, an online community where real estate agents get life-changing training and personal coaching from Keri and her husband, Dan Lesniak. She is also the mother of 4 children, ages 5 and under. And she's also a frequent and charismatic public speaker, one of the best, who has built and scaled multiple businesses. And this is you, Keri. You are probably one of the most powerhouse women I know, an amazing businesswoman.
Thank you so much.
You always rocked the selling skills when we were in sales class together. I was PSS. Not so good.
I loved PSS.
And you made it work for you. You took that and you just flew to the moon. Okay, so what I have invited Keri here to talk about is vision boarding, because back when Keri and I, believe it or not, were working together, back where we had, well, at least I had less gray hair, she started working with a coach, and then you really started doing vision boarding, lots of manifesting the things that you wanted in your life and the things you saw in your future. And I think you are a testament to that process. So talk to me. Is it right? You started vision boarding when you were working with one of your initial coaches. Is that right?
It's hard to remember a time when I didn't do vision boards. I am obsessed with them. I actually have a hilarious vision board story. Do you want to hear about I need it. I think it's actually the first vision board that I did, maybe. So I was in my 30s. So it hasn't been forever, but it's been over a decade. Okay. Yes. And the reason that I love vision boards so much is it's you dreaming and then telling your future self where to go, right? It's setting an agenda for your destiny, which is pretty cool. And I believe that a vision board, a lot of people make them and then they shove them in a closet. I always put my vision board where I brush my teeth, which is leading.
I know. I remember going into your bathroom one day, your new house, when you were building it, and there was your vision board right in your bathroom.
Yes. And I saved them. So the first one that I can visualize and remember, the funny story is I put it where I brush my teeth. And so the first time my husband ever spent the night, he was brushing his teeth. And he looks up and there's my vision board. And it has the stick figure of my future husband with the date, March 1st. And then it has the stick figure of the little kid people. And it has the dates that we're going to have them. And this is his first sleepover, right? A little overwhelming for your first sleepover, right? So he pokes his head out the door and he goes, "Hey, is this me?" And I said, "Yep." And he goes, okay. Then he goes back in the bathroom, brushes
Oh my
his teeth.
gosh, you never told me that.
Yeah. Then he comes, he pokes his head back out the door. He goes, so are we having a baby in 2015? And I go, yep. And he goes, okay. And then he goes back in the bathroom. And then he's like, and another one in 2017. I go, mm-hmm. And he goes, okay. So bottom line, like my whole life was mapped out. And to the day I started dating him was the date on the vision board. So when he comes out, he says, when did you make that vision board? And I said, in December, because I always do my vision boards like at the end of the year for the next year, right? And he didn't believe me because the date was to the day that we started dating. I said, no, I promise that and he goes, oh. So everything on that vision board. And another story about that specific vision board, part of why I love them is the people around you know where you're going when they see your vision board and they support that, right? And we're going to talk about how this impacts organizations and scale and the bigger picture, but this is just in my personal life, right? Yeah. So I had on that same vision board where I had the date of the husband, the date of the children, right? I had that I was going to build a new construction house. And I had all the features that I wanted in the house, down to that I wanted a pool in the backyard. I wanted a fireplace in the master bedroom. Okay, so I'm building this new construction house with my husband, and he remembered that vision board. And so he goes in the master bedroom and he said, where's the fireplace? And I said, oh, we couldn't fit one. And he's like, no way. We are definitely getting a fireplace. That was on your vision board. And so he worked with the architect and got that fireplace. And it's actually like incredible. It's a 2-sided fireplace. And I wouldn't have thought of the idea.
It's so gorgeous.
So those are the things that when you create this vision and you enroll the people who love you around you, and that's your vision, they get on board and then they support it happening. And there are things that wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have ended up with a pool in the backyard, and I wouldn't have got the fireplace because I had given up on those things. And my husband was like, oh, hell no, you're not giving up on your vision. You're getting those things, you know? Oh my God. I think that's really cool.
Wow. Okay. So you do this with your team at the end of the year, you said?
Yes.
And you get them all on board to make their own vision boards.
Yeah. So we do something and it's called the Wheel of Life, right? And so that's what leads us. We do this exercise that leads us into the vision board. Okay. And what we're analyzing before we do the vision board is, some people don't like this word, but balance. All of the important spokes of the wheel are family, friendships, business, financial success, like all the big spiritual community involvement, right? It's all of these things, and they're ranking how they feel about their life. And most of the time, and we do this year over year, and we then give them theirs from the past few years to look at, and they analyze the patterns. And so we're helping them to get present with what they need to work on before they create their vision board. So for some people, their vision is themed, right? They go through moments in life where they really need to focus on specific things to take them to the next level of success, take them to the next level of happiness. And that's how we lead into the exercise. And then they do vision boards. We used to keep them in the office. And I decided, I'm going to let them choose, because I want my vision board where I brush my teeth. And they're running around, we're in real estate. So we're in and out of the office. And I thought, well, I want them to have that same opportunity to be present with their vision every day. So most of them take them home and put them where they brush their teeth now. Yeah. I think as an entire group, the impact is they feel like they have people around them professionally that support their overall vision. For some of them, they need to be more present for their families. So we actually have a really unique, in real estate, most people they have a showing agent or they have an assistant.
Okay.
We ended up designing a program, and I think a lot of it was because of our visions. I felt like I created work-life balance for myself by growing a team, but I wanted the members of my team to have that same ability to be home in the evenings if they wanted to spend time with their families on the weekend. So we created a program where they have partners that are very, very successful real estate agents. It's a salaried position with bonuses, but that enabled us to hire people that were able to fill in for the agents so that they could accomplish their vision too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I hired my first team member for my business this year.
Oh,
And
congratulations.
that was so that I could fill out the things that I had in my vision, right? Which was balance, which was literally not using up all of my energy during the day doing work so that I had nothing left to give my family at night, you know? And so part of that was kind of like my business vision. I didn't do like a board, but I did like a plan, and I have done it every December for the past couple years. And so, I mean, in a way I've done that and definitely been able to have a goal to drive towards.
Yeah. That's awesome. Congratulations, Julia.
Thank you. You've been through it from the very beginning, Keri. Okay. So how do you suggest people actually do the doing of the vision board? Like once they come up, they do their circle. What is the circle of life?
The wheel of life.
The wheel of life. The wheel of life. Oh, I was like, I had Lion King in my head. Once they do that, then how do they actually, like, what is the best way to get the vision board
what's
together?
interesting, for me, I'm visual. So some years I do 2 vision boards because one is about, people are very tempted to do, I want to buy a boat. And then there's a picture of the boat, right? And they want to see the boat because that inspires them to hit metrics. I like, okay, if you want to buy a boat, if you, whatever it is, whatever you want, a new house, whatever, I like to put the things that I need to do to get that on my vision board.
Okay, the steps.
Like, okay, if I need 500,000 in security funds before I'm going to feel comfortable buying the boat, then I would put that on there. But
Okay.
I write out specific things on my vision. And like you heard me say, the stick figures, I took markers and I would draw what I wanted in different categories.
Yep.
And then I would put some pictures. So in the olden days, I used to use magazines. I would go pick out a ton of magazines. I would find the things that were inspiring to me and excited me and tied to my goals, and I would put those on the vision board. Over the years, my children inspire me. So I switched out. Instead of having a picture of a boat, I would put pictures of my family together on the vision board, and pictures of myself and my sister, or myself and my mom, if I wanted to make sure that I had deeper relationships with them. Right.
Okay.
So for me, it's evolved over the years. And now I have one that's kind of like a fun, the things that I want, right? That helps motivate me. And then I have one that's more what I want to accomplish and what I want to do and how I want to feel. And so sometimes I come up with themes. I think in 2021, my theme was simplicity and growth, because we're getting so complicated, right? I just had so much going on that I wanted to kind of declutter, take a little time and like par down and just focus on the simplicity and enjoying the simple things in life. So that was kind of my theme for myself.
Love it. Well, my 2022 theme for myself is self-love.
Oh, I love that.
Yes, I figured that in 2022, I needed to work on how I talked to myself, because it's so important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people don't talk about that a lot, Julia, and you're right.
Yeah, last year was a little bit of a tough year. I don't know. COVID year 2, it was just, I don't know. It was just blah.
Not good.
So, okay, I love this. Well, I found I got this email from this lady I follow, and she has a vision board on Trello. So you basically have like different cards, and then you can put your goals. But I think that's probably a good starting place, but I think you're right. Like you do need to put it somewhere where you're going to be able to see it or share it. And so those goals don't just like get buried somewhere online, and that you're always thinking about them. Like my business goals, I always like just do 5 a year. And that way they kind of like are always replaying into my head.
Yeah.
But I do think that perhaps I should do a larger vision board that includes things with family and all the other things that we talked about, emotional. That's my 2020 year has lots of emotional goals, spiritual goals, those kinds of things, so that you can see it.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing that I love about it, I do it with my husband. So we have like a goal planning session, and then that leads us to vision boards, and we actually do it with our kids. So they get very excited to do vision boards. We started my son doing it when he was 3, I think.
Oh my gosh.
And he had things on there like we would talk, what are your goals for the year? So he wanted to learn to swim.
Okay.
That year he wanted to learn to ride a bike, which I was like, that's a little young. I don't like, with no training wheels. He's like, I want to ride a bike like him, like one of the neighbors were like, and he did it. Right. And then we were getting ready to have our 3rd child then. So he also wanted to hold his brother by himself.
Aww.
It was like, oh, it's so cute. So we put like these adorable pictures of him doing his favorite things on there. And then when he brushed his little teeth, that's next to him.
Oh my gosh. Okay. You're giving me great inspo. I should do this with my children.
I grew up with a father that did goal planning with us. Like we would do family goals.
Yeah.
We did it in January, not in December, but we would sit down, Christmas had passed, that, and then we would do family goals and we would all talk about our goals. And so I wanted to do that with my own children.
Yeah.
And I just added the vision boards because they're so near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think it's awesome. Okay, so are there ever people on your team that are skeptical of vision boarding, or who are like, what is this black magic?
They are. And I tell them the story that I shared with you guys about the vision board with Dan, and they're all like, yeah, but that's for you, not for us. Like some of the skeptics would say like, well, if I did that, then I would just look dumb because it wouldn't come true. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that skepticism, it makes sense. Like if you haven't manifested or haven't been intentional about manifesting your vision, it's okay. Like I have people right out of college. This is like, but then guess what happens? When you have 100 people in a room and 75 of them jump right in because they've been doing it for years, the skeptical ones are like looking to their right, looking to their left. They're like, oh, they're taking all the good magazines. I better jump in, right? So they kind of just get on board. I've never had anybody like refuse to do it or like, I don't want to do it. Because it's just not our culture. Our culture is like, hey, you might be skeptical, but try it.
Yeah.
The worst case scenario is you miss something on your board, which happens every single year. That's okay.
Yeah,
then you
totally.
decide whether you want to carry it over or not.
I've always wanted to do it with like the ladies in my neighborhood. We have like a close knit kind of group that gets together often. And I wonder, like, what is the first step? If I were to get like a group together, do you have like, write out the different categories and then have people write down a certain number of goals for those categories? Like, how do you help them lead?
I'll send you the framework that I use, which is it's definitely like a calculated sheet. And have them do that first where they're filling in. It's about analyzing. This is my opinion. It's about analyzing where you missed the mark, what you want to see improve, and what you were really happy with in every category of life. Right. And then once you're grounded in that, you also start, what are the things that you want? Like, ironically, I haven't had a car for months, and I've been living in temporary housing. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait till I have a place to brush my teeth. And I have a vision board. I don't have a 2022 vision board because since Christmas, I've been living in Airbnbs. Yeah, waiting for my house to be done. So even talking about this, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to have a vision board. I don't have a 2022 theme because I didn't even create the vision board because it's been utter chaos. So getting grounded and getting back to some of the systems that have helped me to be successful in life is so exciting for me.
Oh my gosh. So what do you do if like, okay, so when you've done a vision board and then you're a year in and you're about to do a different one, a new one, what if you haven't accomplished
you just
those
carry
goals?
it over, or you say to yourself, well, did I not accomplish this because I couldn't quite get there and I want to do it, or has my goal changed? Like, I'll give you an example. I had a vision and a goal of writing a book. Okay, I had the title of the book picked out. I was like, yes, this is gonna be awesome. Okay, that was before I had children. So I had that on the vision board. I didn't accomplish it. I carried it over.
Okay.
I actually carried it over for 3 years. I'm like,
Okay.
I'm going to do this. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to pull this off the board for a while because there are other things. Then I had infants and a toddler. And so it was like, actually, I'm not doing it not because I don't want to do it at some point. It just doesn't fit in with what's happening in my life right now. So I'll do it later. And I'm not going to keep it on my vision board for the next 8 years until I decide to do it because it's demotivating to me. So the question you just asked about, what would you do to create the right environment for your team or your friends or your neighborhood women?
Yeah.
I think it starts with wine. You have to get people a little loose and a little free, because when I think, and my team, by the way, we definitely drink when we do vision boards. Like it's a prerequisite to success, in my opinion. Or a very nice sparkling water if you're not a drinker. But I think you have to get yourself in a relaxed state where you can really.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're like, I don't want to say that I want a new car because what if I don't get it?
Right.
No, say it, do it. Like, it's
right.
Okay.
The process is about not holding back.
Yes. And if you're not in the right mood to do it, wait.
Right.
Do it the next day. Like, it has to be something where, like, when we do it with my team, we all do it on that day. And I can't say like, okay, you woke up late this morning and you're having a bad day, so you do it tomorrow. Like, that's not how it works. We all get together and we do it. But for you personally, like, you want to be in the right state. If you got a flat tire that day and you're frantic and you have a deadline at work, like, that's probably not the right day to dream about your life. You might need to have a new day and a fresh look at it.
Okay, I love that. I had another question for you and now it just completely evaporated. Oh, okay. So career goals, right? Mm-hmm. So these ones I feel like are, well, maybe every category is tricky, but career goals, right? So say I'm brand new in my career and I put down that I want to, accelerate my career, whether that's getting a promotion or making more money or finding a place where I feel like I fit in. I mean, it really could be anything. Mm-hmm. Or let's say it's even in your personal life. Like, I want to find a partner in life and I want to start a family. So go back to those little things where you talked about like what you need to do to accomplish those. Like, how do you then talk with your team and say, okay, now you need to really go back and like almost write a plan for how you're going to get to those things? Because you can't just say like, oh, I want to raise, but how are you going to get there?
Yes. So that's a really good point. So for my advice, if there was somebody who was brand new in their career, I would make sure that it's not just, I want to do well at work. That's too loose. You'll never go, oh, I does that mean on your annual review, you want a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10? What does that mean? Do you have an annual review? How are you judged by your leadership of your success. And then what are the things that you can do to drive additional value? So I always look at it like, okay, if it's taking on a project that's outside of your typical role and nailing it to get extra attention from top leadership, maybe that's something you put on there and you take on. But what's the ultimate goal you're looking to achieve? When you started the position and you asked about the opportunity for financial advancement, did they tell you if you nail your first year, you could get a $10,000 raise, or did they say it could be a $20,000 raise? And I'm really competitive. Julia knows this. So
No.
if they told me if you do really well, you can get a $10,000 raise, I would want a $15,000 raise, right?
Yes.
And so that's what would be on my vision board. And then it would be, okay, well, how do they define success? And then how do I outdo? What is their definition of success? How do I bring more value than they planned on? Where is there another hole in that organization that I can take something on and fill it? Yeah. So I'm not just worth the $10,000 raise, I'm worth the 15.
Yes. Everyone needs someone like Keri in their life who every time we would do anything together, you would be like, well, if you say 5, I say 6. Like, and especially in work, if someone would say, Keri, I'll do this, you'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to double that. Everyone needs a friend that does that as a good example of how you should strive to, find those places to create your own opportunities.
Yeah. And you also have to be comfortable and confident enough to present what you've done. So this is a funny story from when we worked together. My first annual review was 4 hours. I don't know if you know this.
No.
4 hours. And do you know why? Because I came to the annual review with a tabbed notebook. I wanted to be promoted.
Yes.
And I was the last one that was hired. So if they did it in sequence, when people were hired, and we were basically living, like, I couldn't afford dollar beers some weeks. Like, we were poor. We were so poor back then.
We were so poor.
So I was like, I cannot wait in line until last to get promoted. I'm going to like die in my one TJ Maxx black suit that I could afford and my dollar beers, right? So I went in and I knew the different categories that they were looking for in order to promote someone. And I said, I want to be promoted. And Rob Capolini, poor soul, was the one doing the annual review with me. And he was like, well, yeah, we were really proud of the job you're doing. Like, he was trying to like put me off. And I'm like, well, why can't I be promoted? Like, what is the reason that you feel that I'm not ready? And remember, my boss, this is going into the story, but my boss was going through a divorce and left. And so I ran the community by myself.
That's right.
And I sold the same amount of deals that she sold, but I was still living on dollar beers. So I was like, no, sir, that is not going to continue. So I came armed for battle, right?
Yeah.
I had the tabs. He was like, oh, I think this quarter, it's really important for you to work on marketing. I'm like, fantastic. I'm so glad you brought that up. Let me showcase all of the marketing that I've done myself, right? Let me show you. So by the end of that review, he was like exhausted. It'd been 4 hours. And he's like, what do you want from me? I said, I want to know that I'll be promoted first. Like, that's what I want to know. He's like,
make the money that you deserved.
Yes. I said, and I want to know a time frame in which you're going to have a community for me. And so by the end, he was like, okay, you'll be first. Like, fine.
Oh my gosh. Do you remember back then? I feel like we got like $250 as a bonus for every sale, and then another $250 when it closed. And the market was insane back then. And we were just, wow, we were so underpaid.
We were so underpaid. It was insane. And it was like always the promise of, oh, but you're going to be promoted soon. I'm like, soon is not good enough. So I think one of the lessons in creating your vision and how you use a vision board, it's like, once you're clear on what you want, Like I could have been like, okay, my vision is to get promoted. But once I started to understand the framework of that organization, I'm like, no, my goal is to get promoted first, because if I'm in line with 8 other people, it's going to be a year and a half of this longer where I'm waiting and dying. Like, yeah. So I think once you give yourself permission to want things, to want to accomplish, whether it's professional, whether it's that you want a car, whether you want to build a house, whatever it is, once you give yourself permission and you go, you know what, I'm going to work hard and I deserve that. I deserve to earn that opportunity. I'll put in the work, right? Then it becomes real. And then you're not afraid to have the hard conversations that get you there.
Yes. Well, you know, about 5-ish years ago, when you were helping me through some career changes, I was in a place where I guess I was still kind of waiting around for someone to help me make decisions or to lead me down the path. And since then, I have learned that I need to make my own path, and making my own path gives me far greater happiness.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think a lot of that, you know, is personality driven. Also, you know, the work environment that I was in. And if you are in one of those situations, a vision board can probably help pull you out of that such type of situation, because it does kind of make you feel like you have more control and give yourself your own tools.
Yeah.
For getting to that ultimate vision, instead of just waiting around for people to hand it to you.
Well, and if you're feeling, you're not at your best because of a situation you're in, like for you, Julia, in your old work environment, it was a weight on you, right?
Totally.
You have like evolved into a totally different human being because of making choices to get out of that situation. And so for some of you that are listening right now that are going, where would I even start with a vision board? What would I want? Is it that I would want a new career? Is it that I would want a new boss? Is it, it might be that it's time to have a conversation at work because there's someone that you're working with that they either need to change how they treat you, or you're not going to work with them. That might be what's on the vision board. And maybe the way you visualize that, you might write like working with someone that I love, right? That I enjoy spending time with. You might put a picture of you and another stick figure and both of you are smiling. Like it all depends on how you want to see that and what's going to make it hit home for you.
Yes. Manifest those good things.
Yes.
Okay. Very last question, Keri, is when you were working with Tony, did he ever do anything about vision boarding? Like, I haven't read enough of his books or his articles, but like, what did you learn any little piece from him?
Well, so Julia's talking about Tony Robbins.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Don't know. I did a year of traveling with Tony Robbins, and it was absolutely amazing. Now, he talked a lot about manifesting your dreams, but I actually don't know that he tied that to a vision board. I don't know that there was a lesson I learned from him on that. The biggest thing I learned from Tony is listening to your inner self, because I think some of us, we might think that what we're working on is getting a car. But ultimately, what we want to feel is the freedom to be able to go where we want and do what we want, right? Maybe there's a deeper goal. So part of my journey with Tony, I was lost, right? Because I felt like early in my career, I wanted to be the number one real estate agent in Arlington, right? It was like very clear. I could put that on a vision board. I was either number one or not. Like it's not, there was no ambiguity, right? But then as I was number one in Virginia and I like crossed that bridge, right? Then all of a sudden I just felt very lost because there was nothing like very clear that I wanted to attain next.
Yeah.
Right. And so I remember being at a business mastery with Tony, and I was sitting next to my husband, and Braden, my first child, was still breastfeeding.
Yes, he was so tiny.
He was 4 months old. He was with me on that trip. And thank God my mother was with me, so she would bring him and then I would breastfeed him in the back of the room. I have no concerns about breastfeeding in public. I will say that. But I was listening to the person on stage and they were talking about how they lost their vision. And all of a sudden, like meltdown. I was crying so hard. My husband was like, what happened? Like, are you hurt? What, like, did a bee fly in here and sting you? Like, what happened? It was that I realized I'm someone who believes so much in having a vision, and I lost where I was going because there wasn't like a clear next step, and it wasn't something that I could just check the box because I did it. It was more on a spiritual journey and like trying to be in a place emotionally where I wanted to be. And that's a lot harder when you get to that place where you're trying to shift your way of being. There's a lot more ambiguity. And so it's harder to say like, yes, I accomplished it, or no, I didn't. It's not so black and white. So try and figure out how you will know. So I started writing down like, well, what are the things that if I do them, I feel great? And for me, one of them, like, I love going on a walk on the beach. I love that. Okay. So how many times a week would I do that if I were succeeding at having this connection with the earth that I want? Right.
Right.
So I would try and look at these big goals and figure out how I can break them down.
Okay.
And when I was at my busiest in growing my business, I remember I was working with a coach, and one of the tips that the coach gave me was, you don't have to pick something that makes you feel good that takes a long time. You have to pick something that makes you feel good that's going to take a short amount of time because you don't have a lot of time. So at that time, one of the things I decided was sitting down and petting my dog. It's so weird, but I loved my dog. And so if I just went the whole day and I never gave her any attention, I didn't feel good. But if I got to sit and play with her, and like, you know how dogs love you unconditionally, like that made me feel so good that it was a quick way that I could take 5 minutes and improve my day. Yep. So that was on my vision board. That was one of the things that I was like, don't forget to play with Zoe.
Yeah. I saw this, like someone posted on Instagram, like a 30-day challenge. And it was like these 5 things that you will do, that you will commit to every day for 30 days to try to make a habit out of some of them. And some of those things are things that are quick and fast and give you happiness, or clear your head, or help you get focused, or help bring you some sort of, peace so that you can then tackle the next thing of your day.
Totally. I had a commitment that I put on my vision board once, and then we'll wrap up because I know we're out of time, but I had a commitment that I was going to start. I had like neglected getting my nails done, getting my hair done. Like I was just so busy that the things that were self-care, I was not doing. And so I actually built them into my calendar in meetings so that I could have my nails done and I could meet with someone on my leadership team and I could combine the two. And so that I felt like I was taking care of myself, taking care of them, and actually having nails that looked presentable.
Well, that's just mom life too, right? Like we put ourselves. You never
want to take time away from your kids to go get your nails done when you have a busy work day. Like that's not how I would want to accomplish it. So I just started stacking things that I could accomplish the 2 goals that seem to be in competition,
right?
Work and self-care. Well, why not do them at the same time?
Yes. Multitasking. I love it. Okay. Well, thanks, Keri. I know you have a busy schedule. So thank you for spending time with me and talking about vision boardings. I'm going to start today.
I can't wait. As soon as I finish mine, I'm going to send you a picture.
Okay. You better.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
All right. Bye, Julia. Bye, everybody. Have a wonderful day and go do a fabulous vision board for yourself.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you liked what you heard, please leave us a podcast review or send us a message at twomarketingmoms.com. And subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time.